What's happening, everybody? Well, I am working on this fuel pump assembly for a Triumph T595. And the reason why I'm working on this is because I came to the realization that I had made a big mistake. And that mistake is this. When I first put this fuel pump, the new filter, cleaned this whole assembly up, I needed to get new fuel hose. So what I did is I just went to my local auto parts store and grabbed generic fuel injection hose. And just was not thinking about the fact that this fuel pump assembly is submerged in a fuel tank, meaning that it is completely immersed in gasoline. And not all fuel lines can be submerged. But how would you know just by looking? Well, if you compare one submerged hose to one that is not submersible, you can't really tell just in the looks, right? I mean, how would you be able to tell? Well, you really can't. And so what I wanted to bring to you guys were things to look for if you find yourself in this situation. All of these hoses are going to have an SAE number on them. In this case, this is SAE 30R7. 30R7 is what you're going to find at your local, just run-of-the-mill auto parts store. This is not submersible. What'll happen is that the outer sheath of this hose is going to start to deteriorate. And this one, believe it or not, started to deteriorate relatively rapidly with this hose really only being in the bike for a couple of months. Whereas a submersible hose is going to carry the rating of SAE J30R10. If it is not a J30R10, it is non-submersible. So what I wanted to tell you guys also is, let's say you go to an auto parts store and you say SAE J3014. That does not mean that it's better than a 10. In fact, 14, that 30R14 is also non-submersible. So you need to make sure that on the hose itself, it reads submersible fuel hose. If it does not read submersible fuel hose, it will deteriorate in your tank and will cause that hose over time to fail. Now, how fast will it fail? I don't know. It'll eventually get to a point, though, where it will pop. I can tell you that this one, oddly enough, the lettering on this hose had already started to diminish. I can tell you that it was very readable before, and now it's not, and it has a much more pliable consistency to it, at least that I remember it being back when I first installed it. So again, guys, if you are working on a fuel system and it's going to be inside of the fuel tank itself, you're going to want to go with one of these types of submersible hoses. Now, yes, there is a huge difference in price. A foot of this submersible fuel hose ranges anywhere from, say, $20 to $25, where a foot of this stuff is only going to cost you, if they even charge you for it, it'll be like, I don't know, just a few dollars. So don't think that you're getting away with something here. Yes, it's a whole lot less expensive, and there's a reason for it. It's because it does not perform under the same criteria that the correct hose will work for. So this hose is going to leave you stranded. This hose is going to last you for a very, very long time. So with that, guys, just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a mea culpa. And the way I found out about this, or the reason why it snapped to me, is I was kind of rewatching one of my other videos, which is something that I rarely, if ever, do. And I was trying to remember what size the fuel line was for the actual pump and the filter on this thing, to answer a question for a friend of mine. And during that video, there's a stop. It just shows it perfectly where you can see the writing on this hose. And in looking at it, it starts to read right here, not, oh, if this will focus, it says not for something. And the first thing I thought of was, does that say not for submersible or not for something? Anyway, if it's not for something, I don't want it in my gas tank. So I immediately blew the whole bike apart, tore it apart, and sure enough, looked up the SAE J code on this thing, and it is absolutely not submersible. So yeah, after not that long of an amount of time, this thing's already starting to deteriorate. But here's the thing. If it's the SAE J1310, I'm sorry, SAE J30R10, the J3010, this is submersible. If it is not a 30R10, it's probably not submersible. And again, these are not upwardly compatible. When you get past 10, the rest of them are not going to be submersible. They don't go up the ladder like that. So anyway, kind of a PSA. I know I kind of beaten a dead horse at this stage in the video, but just wanted to share that with you. Hope that helps you out. And that's a wrap. Adios.